Oh, what is up, Packer fans? The video decided to start without me pushing the button, but we are back. We are back with a final thoughts process of the Vikings Packer game. It was a tough loss. After my initial reactions, I tried to settle down a little bit and I listened to a lot of, some of the press conferences, some of what Rodgers had to say, some of what Amos had to say, kind of what some of these young guys had to say. Obviously, none of them are happy with their performance yesterday. None of them are happy with how they played. Rodgers even admitted he missed some on his own. He could have, on that read option on 4th and 1 at the goal line, instead of giving it to A.J. Dillon, could have taken it and stretched it to the left side. Zadarius crashed down, so he would have had an open lane to the end zone. That would have been 7 points. Obviously, the Christian Watson drop in the beginning, that would have been historical. Not only would have been his first play from scrimmage, his first catch, a touchdown, 75-yard bomb, opening weekend. But I'm sure that breaks all kinds of different rookie records for first catch and, for longest reception as a Packer for, their first ever catch and all those things, and maybe in NFL history, for a rookie, it might have been some kind of record as well. Who knows? I'm sure some guys in the past have done something similar, but it would have been, totally game-changing for one. It could have been, the catapult that he needed, that Christian Watson needed to get to the next level. Just a really big bummer watching him drop that. He ran a great route. He kind of got Patrick Peterson back on his heels. Peterson even after the game said, yeah, you guys got me on that one. I wasn't really warmed up yet. Watson burned him, had separation. Rodgers hit him with a great pass, and, it went right through his arms and he dropped it. So really a tough play to watch. And then you go and kind of at the same time, if you saw any of what Davante Adams was doing, he put up 141 yards on 10 receptions and a touchdown. The Packers receivers combined had 120 yards and no touchdowns. Just a tough day all around for some of these Packers receivers. Randall Cobb, Sammy Watkins didn't get involved enough. We know Watson dropped it, so he kind of lost the trust of Rodgers. Dobbs ran the wrong route early, but he got some balls. He made some grabs. It was not the best opening game, but, he showed he can make some plays, and he got open here and there, and he's a guy that I think he could, his game tape you can grow from and learn from. Obviously, you want to see more out of the receivers in general. Packers really should have tried to ride these running backs a lot more. We know that A.J. Dillon, the workhorse back, Aaron Jones, kind of the scat back. Jones had 5 rushes for like 49 yards. That's a 10-yard clip. Get him 5-10 more carries. Get A.J. Dillon the ball some more. Really ride these running backs. These young offensive linemen. We're hurt on the offensive line. You don't have the all-pro Bakhtiari. You don't have the Pro Bowler Jenkins. You have all young guys up front. What is easier for the young guys to do? Pass block or run block? Run block. We know that. Moving forward is easier than trying to hold your position moving backwards when a guy's pushing you backwards. So that's why these guys like, Trent Williams and David Bakhtiari get paid the big bucks for being a left tackle, going up against those edge guys and being able to move their feet. That's why Rodgers calls him the big giraffe, because he is so nimble and light on his feet. These young guys need all the help they can get. You put guys in who have never played a snap, Jake Hansen, and you see him get burned by Zadarius Smith early and often and throughout the game. And even at the end of the game when Jordan Love was in, you still saw Jake Hansen get beat on that right side. Zach Tom came in on the left side when JRJ, John Runyon Jr., got injured on that sack in the third quarter of Rodgers. Just tough because, he was playing pretty good, but Zach Tom should be the starter. He should have probably been the starter at right guard. I like his position there at left guard. That's where Zach Tom should be. And then I think they should bring Sean Ryan in, the rookie out of UCLA, the third-round pick. Let him try his luck at right guard. I think those two rookies can be, solid on that offensive line. I really think those are the guys they should go with. Hopefully David Bakhtiari and Jenkins can come back. Josh Myers played a good game up front, but that offensive line struggled. They didn't really help them out a whole lot with some of the play calls and some of the scheming. Rodgers is back there trying to find guys open. That doesn't help. You got to do quick hitters. You got to get the ball out of your hands. Help these offensive linemen. You don't have your guys, so you need to do what you can with what you have to work with. and a lot of their scheme just wasn't set up for the players they had on offense. And then on defense, I don't know what they were doing. They totally Joe Barry has to put Jair Alexander on the opposing team's #1 receiver. I know sometimes they're going to switch, and sometimes it doesn't make sense for him to stay with them, but for the most part, he should be locked on him. Teams like the Vikings who have Jefferson, teams like the Bengals who have Jamar Chase, teams like the Raiders who have Devontae, now you have to cover him. Buccaneers have a lot of different receivers, but the Bills, with Stephon Diggs, and then Juju Smith-Schuster maybe with the Chiefs, but you understand what I'm saying. Jair Alexander, you pay him $20 million to cover the other team's best receiver. Why are you paying him $20 million if you're going to have him on the left side covering Jalen Reagor or Adam Thielen? Doesn't make sense. Put Jair Alexander on Justin Jefferson, lock him down, and then have Douglas go on Thielen, and then have Stokes go on Reagor. That's kind of a good matchup, based on all the measurables and everything, skill sets and all those things. That would have been a really good alignment. Allow Preston Smith to not cover Justin Jefferson. I don't know why they had him on him at all. Preston Smith, at his age and at his experience, he is a pass rusher. He shouldn't be out there trying to cover Justin Jefferson. Either should the safeties, Amos and Savage. There was a play where Amos was on him, Savage was trying to help, and they both got burned. That should not happen. Savage and Amos had the lowest graded PFF total they've ever had in a game, and they both had it in the same game, and that was yesterday. That is really tough to watch. Amos is a guy I have very highly regarded, and then Savage, I think, is a guy that can be really good in this league. I think you guys saw that, but really a bummer that they just couldn't play better. They had him out of position so much. I think the Packers defense tried to out-scheme themselves. You have the players. When you don't have the players, you have to scheme, you have to take risks scheming, and you have to take risks in general. When you have the players, just line up man on man, or some little zone concepts. You could even have Jair man-to-man, and then the rest of the guys run zone. Just don't take a guy off of Justin Jefferson. He shouldn't be 30 yards away from the closest defender, ever. That shouldn't happen. I don't get why that happens. And, they just looked foolish. The defense is, credited by their worst plays, and the offense is credited by their best plays. It's just really tough to watch a team that came in with such high hopes for their defense. I don't think they'll play this bad all season, but there is a lot to work on here. So Quay Walker, the rookie, his first real action week 1 against the Vikings, he looked really good throughout the first quarter. Into the second quarter, he had 7 tackles, but then he went out with a shoulder injury. We're still waiting to hear what is up with him. The extent of the injury is still unknown. We should know more tomorrow. But then Chris Barnes came in, and he injured himself. He has a high ankle sprain. He'll be out indefinitely. So now the depth at inside linebacker is kind of a question mark. Hopefully Walker can go against the Bears, but if he can't, McDuffie would be kind of the guy that comes in if Barnes is still out, which I think he will be. Obviously, we have the All-Pro Devondre Campbell, which kind of solidifies that middle, but he looked out of position a little bit yesterday. Just everybody seemed not in rhythm, and there was communication issues, and just all in all, they didn't look really good. Really tough to watch. So other issues, Keyshawn Nixon left with a shoulder injury as well, and then like I said, John Runyon Jr. was out with the concussion when he got hit on the play that Rodgers got sacked. Just really, really tough to watch. I saw kind of a funny stat. Justin Fields' quarterback rating was 85.7, and Jordan Love's quarterback rating was 118.7. I know people are going to say, well, that was garbage time. That was at the end of the game. Well, that's when Dak got most of his yards last year, which is why the Cowboys led the league in yards. But it's still, garbage time. Usually the backup comes in. He might try to throw some balls, and if he does, usually it gets picked off, and there's a struggle. He went 4 for 5 for 65 yards. Pretty solid. Rodgers only had 195 the whole game. Love looked good. Not saying anything. Just the fact that, you like to see that growth. Even though it was garbage time, he still was able to come in and show that, he's learning. He's progressing. So with these question marks, there's like a whole film reel I'm watching. I have it posted on my Twitter, S_Joseph_K, everything Packers account. Jake Hansen trying to block, and he just gets burned inside, out, all different ways, and it was really tough to watch. I think that is going to be his last week. I think they should just have him as a rotational backup, a guard that can come in if a guy gets injured, just who can do a suitable job. I really like the fact that if Bakhtiari can come back, he'll be left tackle. You throw in Zach Tom at left guard, who's really should be good there. You played left tackle in college. You move him kind of inside, kind of get him acclimated. Josh Myers at center. Then right guard, Sean Ryan, 6'4", 320 pounds, probably the best run blocking guard in football last year in college football. And then you put Elkin Jenkins on the right tackle spot. That offensive line, I think, can do some damage. That offensive line is the one I'm excited to see, and that offensive line is the one that I think can take us places, running the ball and throwing the ball. The offensive line we put out there yesterday had some snaps together in the preseason, but they didn't go up against anybody. They didn't really get tested, and you could see that Jake Hansen just was not ready for the moment. Tough to watch, and, he really was outmanned a lot of the game. So, offensive line, make some changes. These receivers, I think, are going to want to bounce back and show that this first week was a fluke. I know they're going to get these running backs more touches. I was kind of thinking before, you got to get these guys about 30 touches total. But they were kind of almost close to that. I think, Dylan had 10 catches and like 16 receptions, or 6 receptions, so he had like 16 total touches. And then, Jones only had like 8 total touches, I think, with 5 carries and 3 receptions. That's just not enough. What did we put that at? 24 or something like that, roughly. They need to be at 35. I'm thinking 35 a week to really put them where they need to be. Get the numbers out of them that we can get out of them. Even if you got to ride them into 40, 45 touches, that is, if they're working well and you can ride them that far, ride them that far. That's what you should be doing. I know it's tough to have a $50 million game manager in Aaron Rodgers, but until these receivers kind of get on the same page, run the ball. Get it in Jones and Dylan's hand, out of the backfield, on swing play, all kinds of stuff. Get them the ball, move it down the field, kind of, mix in the pass when you can and get these young guys involved. But it's kind of a lot of pressure. I know they're NFL players, but his first play, his first game, national television, Packers, Vikings, start of the season, let the kid get warmed up a little bit. Throw him a bubble screen or something. You throw him a freaking 60-yard bomb and he drops it in the whole world season, and now he's got to deal with that. I like the play. I do like the play, but throw it up to Sammy Watkins. Watkins would have burned him just the same. Watkins probably would have caught it. You do it with Watson. I know you're trying to get the fans excited about this young kid, but it's just too big of a moment too early for a guy that's just never even caught a ball yet. I think they just, they over-schemed, they overthought, they overplanned. Stick with the basics. You got a good offensive line, some of the best running backs, and the best quarterback. You should be able to do some things regardless of the young weapons on the outside. And this defense was notched as number 1 going in. Now they're probably not even top 30 after week 1. Pretty crazy. Really a horrible way to start the season. I know it was like last year we lost 38-3 to the Saints. Rodgers said, well, we made some improvements. We scored 4 more points than last year, which is true, but it's still not good enough. The only bright side is going into this Chicago Bears game Sunday, Matt LaFleur has never lost back-to-back games as a Packer during, the regular season. Obviously, you can't lose back-to-back in the playoffs, but he's never lost back-to-back in the regular season. He's gone 13 wins each of his first 3 seasons, the most wins out of any coach in his first 3 seasons, the most wins for any team in 3 seasons without winning a Super Bowl. And now we have the old rival Chicago Bears coming to Lambeau after their crazy wins, 19-10 over the 49ers in the rain, in the mud. And I think they were kind of a product of the environment. I don't think they were a better team than the Niners. I think Lance struggled, but I think the Bears kind of squeaked out of that with a win because of the weather. I think the Packers can use this game as a big bounce-back game, and I'm super excited. But I'll get to more of what's coming with the Bears game later this week. We're going to finish wrapping up this Vikings horrible game that we had to watch. So some areas where I was right about this weekend against the Vikings, cover Dalvin Cook, stop Dalvin Cook, got to do that. Didn't really do that, 90 yards on the ground. Covered Justin Jefferson, Told them to do that. They didn't do that. 184 yards on 9 catches and 2 touchdowns. Not going to fly. Don't let Zadarius Smith get a sack. What do? He got one, and I think he even got partial another one, but they didn't give him credit for it. But still, got to block Zadarius Smith. And then, just run the ball more. I said we got to run the ball. They didn't lean on the run enough. The game was pretty close. They had some mistakes. Like I said, they could have went for Rodgers could have kept it on that rollout or that handoff to Jones or Dillon at the goal line, and he could have scored. That 3rd and 1 where they passed it, and then the 4th and 1 where they threw it to Tanyan in the seam towards the end zone. Just hand it off to Dillon on 3rd down, get the 1st down, and then you keep this game alive. You keep it going. Just really tough to see that, but I was wrong about this defense being so good. Was wrong about the defensive line working in cohesion with the secondary. The secondary couldn't cover for a second, and it took the defensive line and the pass rush about 5 seconds to even get close to Cousins, and so it was just a mess. In the second half, they did hold Jefferson to 30 yards receiving. That is improvement. It's tough to watch still, but it is a little bit of an improvement, and they changed up their scheme. The communication got better, but they still, that first drive of the 3rd quarter, they couldn't get the ball going or moving, and then Rodgers took that sack and he kind of fumbled, which was kind of a weird play, but still, real tough. I thought Romeo Doubs would step up and be the leading receiver for this Packers team. He has already taken the leading receiving role. He had the most yards and about the most catches for a receiver in this Packer game. Obviously, A.J. Dillon led the team in reception yards, but for receivers, Romeo Doubs has already taken that lead. Kind of what I said, but I'd like to see Sammy Watkins get more involved, Randall Cobb get more involved. Obviously, their faces said it all at the end of the game, but it is only week 1. Overreaction Monday always happens this way. It is really tough because, all the anticipation, all the excitement going into week 1. You'd think the coach, they know who they're going to play. They know what is going on. I heard they said that they know the coaching staff of the Vikings, but that's not true because the Vikings switched their whole coaching staff this year from top to bottom pretty much. The Zimmer father and son duo is gone, and the rest of the guys are gone. They have a whole new crew in there with Kevin O'Connell. And so they didn't really know their scheme. They probably should have watched more Rams footage of what they did with Cooper Kupp. But Justin Jefferson is a top 5 receiver in the league. And I've been on that all week. They had to cover him. They had to stop him and Dalvin Cook. But like I said, try to stop Jefferson first. He's the one that's running deep down the field. Keep him covered and then work your way up towards Cook. I'd rather Cook beat you than Jefferson beat you. It's going to take longer for Cook to get downfield than it does for Jefferson. Just really tough to watch that. Rashawn Gary got his sack. He's on pace for 15 this year. That's something, I has been saying. Thought he'd be able to get more. Thought this defense would get more as a whole. Thought we'd get some turnovers against Kirk Cousins. Hopefully against the Bears, this defense can bounce back. I think they're going to want to bounce back on the offensive line, at receiver. These running backs are going to want to get to 100 yards. And I think this defense is going to want to show that last week was a fluke. We did this last year, preseason, week 1, basically of the season, because against the Saints, no starters had practiced before that. And then we went into week 1 last year and lost. Kind of looked at that like a preseason game. Then we went on to win 7 straight. This year, kind of the same formula, even though this year I thought, and I kept saying, that I thought that they were going to be in a better spot. They had scrimmages. Rodgers was there the whole offseason. They should have been primed for a better start to the season. Scoring 4 more points, Rodgers, is not really an improvement. I get it is more than 3, but still not what we're talking about when we say improvement. And just, not being able to get any rhythm going, get any flow with anything. Just really a tough look. I'm really bummed. Like I said, I was so excited about the defense, the 3 different cover corners that we have. Jair Alexander being back. Rashawn Gary's stepping up. Kenny Clark played really good. Campbell played pretty good. Douglas played pretty good, but Eric Stokes looked out of it. Jair Alexander was a shutdown guy, but who was he shutting down? The third tight end on the Vikings? Just didn't really make sense to have him on a guy that wasn't doing crazy damage. After the first Jefferson big play, they should have thrown. He scored that touchdown on 4th and 1. After that, put Jair on him. I don't understand it. I know it's kind of his scheme. He used to do that with Jalen Ramsey. Joe Barry used to just kind of let him be on one side of the field and let the game kind of work itself out using the zone team scheme on defense. Well, that doesn't work if the guy's burning you and no one's covering him. You have to do something to fix it. That's all coaching. You have to make adjustments mid-game. That's what's so important in the NFL. That's what these good coaches are great at doing, is making those mid-game adjustments. Just really tough. None of the Packers offensive players hit 59 yards. You need 59 yards per game to hit 1,000 yards this season. I'm not saying that none of these guys are going to get to that, but just to start out with such a slow day, really struggle on offense. Just really tough because we're so hopeful. We were so excited about everything, and it just didn't go the way we wanted. Christian Watson dropping that first pass, 75-yard touchdown, potentially, likely would not have been caught from behind. Kind of just deflated the whole mood of the game. After that, Rodgers kind of just didn't seem comfortable. He didn't trust the young guys. The morale kind of seemed down. It was like, oh, we put so much stock into these guys, and then get the play set up, and then he lets us down. He didn't get another look all game. It just, everybody kind of seemed just miscommunication, kind of lazy, just out of sorts, and it showed. They earned this L. The Vikings earned the W. Packers definitely did not play well enough to win. They should not have won, and that's why they did not win. Can't just score 7 points in the NFL, especially when your defense is playing. They let 23 points go up, but it wasn't like Kirk Cousins was, throwing the ball over the field for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns. They did keep them in check for the most part. If the Packers would have scored, even if they don't score on that Watson touchdown in the beginning, let's say they don't do that, at least down on the goal line, they score that one on 4th and 1 instead of giving it to Dylan. Aaron Rodgers runs it in. Now it's 14-23. Then they got down, and it's on 3rd and 1, they pass it. 4th and 1, they pass it to Tiny, like I've been saying, and then they turn over on downs. So there they could have kicked a field goal if they scored a touchdown. Now it's 21-23, or if they kicked the field goal, it would have been 23-17. Either way, now you're in the mix. If that Watson touchdown does go early, now you're up 24-23 or whatever. It could be 28-23. The score is totally different. The whole complexion of the game goes different. Different calls at different times. They might not have gone for it later on that 4th and 1 if they had that 7 points in their pocket already. I would have taken the points early just because all this stuff happening. Just get the points on the board before half. Go into half with some kind of points. I don't know why LaFleur does that. Sometimes he goes for it when you think he should just take the points, and then sometimes he takes the points when you think you should go for it. The playoffs, you go for it for the win or the tie. In the regular season, just take the points early on the road. You take the points. Don't understand why you don't. I know it was a good drive. I know you wanted to score a touchdown, but you take the points, put them in your pocket, and just move on with it. Obviously, that was a big momentum swing for the Vikings. They stopped us, and then they drove all the way down the field to score a touchdown right before half. Not ideal, and not what you want to see. So a lot of things to learn from for the Packers. Hopefully, this coaching staff realizes what they did wrong. Over scheming on defense, trying to do too much on offense. Just take your big guys, push those other guys back, and run it with your guys who are the top tandem in the league. Let Rodgers throw it when he needs to on 3rd and short or whatever, or 2nd and short to just move the change. But otherwise, ride these workhorse backs and finally play some good defense. Gosh, it's so frustrating with so much talent, so many first round picks, all the All-Pros, all the Pro Bowls. And they just looked out of position. They just looked so confused. And it wasn't like the Vikings did anything crazy. It wasn't any crazy schemes or concepts or anything, route combinations. The guy was just wide open, and he's like the top, probably top 3 behind Chase, Devontae, and Jefferson. I don't understand why you just let him run wide open. But hopefully, like I said, they learn from it. Jair Alexander is a lockdown corner. He is a lockdown corner for a reason. You paid him $20 million for a reason. Now go have him cover the best teams or the opponent's best receiver. Don't understand why they didn't. Stokes is good, but he's still young. You can't have him, confused about what he's doing. You got to just have him doing what he needs to do. Douglas, quit putting him out of position. Just put him on a guy and let him cover him. Amos and Savage, they should be just safeties in the back end. Don't have them trying to keep up with Jefferson. Don't have Preston Smith trying to keep up with Jefferson. You got to put your guys in the best position to win, and I don't think the Packers coaches did that with their team yesterday. This team is too talented to be out of position so bad from coaching. Just run a base defense and let them go man-to-man if you can't handle all the zone concepts and all the different... you're sending guys places that they don't need to be and putting them out of position when they probably were in position to begin with. So hopefully we see some changes. Otherwise, there's going to be an uproar when it comes to the Packers defense if they don't shape up. Joe Barry looked better last year. We were excited about it this year. He's got the talent, all the talent in the world. These guys are, confident, and then they come out and do this. So something's got to give. I hate to kind of be at Joe Barry, but this team is too good to have a guy like him, kind of over-scheme it and mess up what the Packers have going. Just do a base concept and just let these guys do their thing. They're too good not to succeed, and the only reason they're not going to succeed is if you do what you've been doing and would do what you did yesterday. Obviously, like I said, Rodgers knows that guys need to make plays. Guys messed up. He's holding himself accountable. He's holding the team accountable. LaFleur knows what he needs to do better. He didn't have the guys prepared. There's just so much that goes into it. I think they knew they probably weren't ready for week one because of all the question marks going in on the offensive line and wondering if guys will be ready and young receivers. So I think after the first week, those first week jitters are gone. We're going to go into the Bears game. It's going to be a different vibe, a different feeling. We're going to be at home at Lambeau, which I'm excited about. Finally back to Green Bay. It's been a long time. Lost to the 49ers there last year when it was freezing cold, and now we get a chance to, go back to Lambeau Field. Week 2 of the 2022 NFL season. Play the Chicago Bears, who are 1-0. Hopefully, if the Packers can win, we'll be 1-1, just like the Bears will be. Lions lost, so we'll see how they do. The Vikings won, so we'll see how they do. Hopefully, they don't get out to too hot of a start if the Packers do take some time to go. But I'm hoping that we can bounce back next week. We're going to do a full-fledged get ready for the Chicago Bears Packers game this week. As you guys can see, I'm home, not on the paddleboard in Door County anymore, but it is fine. I don't mind being home. It is a lot quieter. Don't have the wind noise. Got my sweet jerseys in the background. Kelsey had a good game. Rodgers not so much. Chiefs won the game. Packers not so much, but still, that's kind of my Packers prediction. I do like, or the Super Bowl prediction, I do like the Chargers and Justin Herbert, but I think that Mahomes will probably steal it this year. Herbert will get one next year, the year after. But I did pick the Chargers, I think, to be in the in the Super Bowl. I have them winning the division, I think, over the Chiefs, but the Chiefs do make the playoffs. Chiefs looked really good yesterday, though. I do have to say, don't want to talk too much about them, but they did look really good yesterday. Packers should learn a thing or two from them. They lost Tyreek Hill, and they were still able to have a high-powered offense. Packers lost Devontae Adams and were not able to do much on offense at all. Really tough game. I don't know what to say anymore. I don't want to talk. Most of the times after the week of a Packers loss, I don't like listening to my sports analysts, FS1 and ESPN, all those guys. Don't like listening to that. Don't really like listening to the talk radio stuff. I don't want to hear anything bad about the Packers just because it's like, oh man, I know, I saw it. I don't want to hear anymore. They sucked, and I get it. Move on to the next week. Hopefully they can bounce back, and next week we can hear all the good stuff. When they win and they dominate, I love listening to it because it's just, it's like music to my ears talking about the green and gold winning games. This week was tough. Again, it's only week 1. Hopefully this is not a, reflection of what is going to come in the future. I just think that this team is young, made some mistakes, kind of got behind early, and then kind of lost their way, got out of sorts. But there's so much talent on both sides of the ball. And once we get some, Alan Lazard was out. That's a big thing. I didn't talk enough about that. Wide receiver one, guy who's confident, a guy who Aaron Rodgers has trust in, a guy who knows the system, a great run blocker on the outside, as for a receiver, probably one of the best run blocking receivers in the game. And to have him go out, kind of short notice, did put some extra pressure on the rest of these guys. I still think they should run the ball more, try to play better defense. But all in all, a lot to learn from. Some good things from these young guys, Quay Walker, Romeo Doubs. Zach Tom came in and played really well after JRJ's injury. But then there's a lot of question marks and a lot of guys that need to improve, and, some coaching things that need to improve. But that's why we love football, because of the journey it is that we go on from week 1 until the very last week of the Super Bowl. It is a journey for all of us, a journey for the players, for the coaches, for the staff, for the fans, for the analysts, for everybody. It is so much fun to just see how the team progresses, see how they grow, see what happens with everything. After yesterday, Carson Wentz is leading the NFC in touchdown passes for the Commanders with 4. Patrick Mahomes is leading the AFC with 5. Matt Ryan's leading the NFC, Matt Ryan's got 352 yards, so he's second in the AFC in passing behind Mahomes, who had 360. But still, pretty crazy day of football. It's just, you never know what's going to happen. You never know what teams are going to step up and what players are going to have big days. Like we saw O.J. Howard get cut from Tampa, then get cut from Buffalo, and now went to the Houston Texans and scored 2 touchdowns yesterday. Things like that, you can't predict. You don't ever think it's going to happen like that. But Packers laid an egg. We know it. We're going to try to move past it. We're going to get on to the Chicago Bears, a team that, doesn't seem like they have a lot of talent on paper. Defense is questionable with some guys that they lost over the season. And offense, they don't really have super dynamic playmakers, but Dante Pettis had a 52-yard bomb. Darnell Mooney can play. Equinemius St. Brown had a touchdown yesterday. This Bears team could be a little bit better than we think. They did beat the Niners in some slop, but we will be watching the Bears closely this week. We'll be checking the injury report all week. We'll be seeing what the Packers say about practice and what they have to say midweek during their press conference. Hopefully these guys are all able to move on, move forward, forget about week 1 against the Vikings. Take it as for what it is, a learning experience. We have a lot of time left. There's a lot of games left. This doesn't define the season, and the Packers can bounce back. They win 7 in a row like they did last year. They'll be sitting pretty, and, probably won't happen the same way as it did last year, but I think they're going to bounce back in a big way. They get the win against Chicago, hopefully. I'm going to almost guarantee it, but I always kind of put a disclaimer at the end, like, hopefully they do, but I don't want to be jinx us too much, knock on wood. But Packers should have a bounce back game. Like I said, LaFleur has never lost back-to-back games. I know everybody on this team is going to want to prove that that loss was not going to define their season. So, all right, guys, that's it. Where I was right, where I was wrong. Final recap of the Minnesota Vikings Green Bay Packers game. 23-7, Minnesota wins. Really a tough game. I give Justin Jefferson the game ball. 9 receptions, 184 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Packers game ball, it's tough. Probably, A.J. Dillon probably had the best game on offense. Jones looked good, but I'd probably give it to Quay Walker for his half of play. He looked really good sideline to sideline, a little out of position on some plays in the pass game, but you can't expect him to be covering Justin Jefferson or getting like super far back on some of these crossers. He just doesn't have a feel for the game yet to be in those positions. You got to just have him read and react. Running backs, tight ends, keep it simple. But all in all, exciting day of football. Like I said, Vikings win 23-7. Packers should bounce back next week. All right, guys, here we go. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the Everything Packers channel, check out more videos, and don't forget to comment whatever you want about Packers and football below. Thank you again for watching. Go Packers, go. Peace out, and I'll see you guys in the next one.